Next we're going to do some basic needle sculpting just to create eye sockets where we've placed our eyes. It will make our toy look a little bit less like an alien and a little bit more like the kitty cat that we actually want. So to do that, you first need to mark your spots that we'll be using. First spot is going to be under the muzzle, just off center, over there. Your second spot is going to be by the right eye, just to the side of it, but actually your needle needs to touch the eye itself. Your third spot is on the right hand side of the right eye. Again, you are touching the needle to the eye itself. Spot number 4, we are coming back down. We're going a stitch to the left of spot number 1. So together, those two spots are central to the muzzle itself. Spot number 5 is the inside corner of your left eye, again touching the actual eye. And your final spot, the outside corner of the eye, again touching the actual eye. So you've got spot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 over there. As you can see with the side view. I have included diagrams in the written PDF pattern that's available in my Etsy store, Cosmos Crochet Corne, if you would rather follow the diagram instructions or you want to be sure that you've got your pins in the right place. Next, you're going to need a needle that is long enough to move between any two of these pins. So I've got a medium-sized upholstery needle. And for my yarn, I'm using the main color chunky yarn that I've used to do the sculpting with. Now, I'm going to be removing the pins because they get in my way when I work, but if you've got the diagram, you can remember where they are placed. So I'm just going to remove them. Now, I start by entering at spot 1. With my needle, and I want to come out at point 2 right next to the eye. So I've entered at spot 1 here, I'm exiting at spot 2 there, going to pull it through. Now you don't want to pull your yarn all the way through, you want to leave a yarn tail hanging out here, and you want to make sure that this yarn tail keeps hanging out. We are then going to go in by spot 3 on the other side of the eye, and we're going to come back out at the same spot 1 that we started at. So we're basically making giant stitches on the inside of the head in order to do a bit of shaping. There we go. Pull it through. Now you see as we pull it through, it has created this line across the eye. We just want to move that line down to below the eye, and then we're going to keep pulling tight. Hold on to the short end as you pull tight. You don't want it to pull through. And you'll see as I pull tight, the eye starts indenting and the yarn actually disappears under the safety eye itself. So you can see there it's indented a little bit. It's creating a tiny bit of a cheek here as opposed to the other side where it's just flat. You can see here if you look from the top, that one's gone in towards there more. This one is still sticking out. So that's what we're doing by creating eye sockets. We are now going to do the other eye, so we're going to enter at point 4, which is 1 stitch to the left of where we exited, and we're going to come out at point 5, the inside corner of our left eye, and pull through. Always remember to keep your short yarn tail hanging out. We're then going to enter at point 6, the outside corner of the eye, and we're going to exit back at point 4 where we had just come from. through. Again, as you pull through, it forms a line across the safety eye. You just want to move the line down to the bottom, hang on to your short end and pull tight. Again, the line of yarn just disappears under your safety eye, and as you pull tight, it starts indenting. So you can see we've got a little bit of a socket happening now on either side. We've got a little bit of a nose bridge forming here. We've got little bits of cheeks starting to pop out on the sides. I like to repeat this, so I'm going to do the whole process again because I like to tighten my eye sockets a bit. So I go in at point 1, out at point 2. In at point 3, out at point 1. Sometimes you just need a bit of help from the pliers. And pull tight again. Okay, in at point 4, out at point 5, in at point 6, and out at point 4. Pull tight again. Now, one thing you want to be careful with as you're doing needle sculpting, you'll notice each time you pull tight, your eye moves down a little bit. And you want to make sure that your two eyes stay even on a level basis this way. So if you find that one eye is a little bit higher than the other, like at the moment my left eye is just slightly higher than my right eye, so I'm just going to pull a little bit tighter on the long string to drop the left eye a little bit. Had it been the other way around, I would have pulled a bit tighter on the short string to drop that a little bit. You can see we've formed some nice little eye sockets there now. It's a bit hard to notice it on video, it's easier to see it in person, but it's basically like you've taken the eyes and you've pressed them in like that. And that just gives us a nice little bit of basic needle sculpting. What I'm going to do then is I'm going to work both of these ends to a common opening. I'll just pick a random hole in the head and work through. I'm going to do the same with my short end. Once I can actually get it onto the needle. When your yarn starts splitting, it can become tricky. There we go. Just go in through point 1 where it's coming out of and move it to the same opening as the long end. I just cut the long end shorter to make it easier to tie. Knot the two pieces together so that our needle sculpting won't come loose later on. Cut it off short, and once again we're just going to push that knot into the head to hide those ends. There we go. And that is our needle sculpting all done. This is what your cat should look like at the moment. Next we're going to embroider some eyelashes and eyebrows onto our cat. So to do that we need to mark off a few spots. We're going to start by the left eye. We're going to count up 1, 2, 3 rounds to insert our first pin. The second pin is on that same round, 2 stitches to the left. Sorry, that's pin 3. The next pin you go 1 round down and 2 stitches to the left again. So this here would be point 1, that would be point 2, and that would be point 3 for your eyebrow. We're now going to repeat this on the other eye. So we count up 1, 2, 3 stitches, 2 stitches to the right, we insert another pin, 1 row down and another 2 stitches to the right, we insert another pin. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I know it's weird that they're out of order, but it's got to do with the way we embroider. For the eyelashes, you insert 1 pin on the inside corner of the eye. This will be point 7. And then point 8, you're going basically 1 round, 2 rounds down. And you'll notice here it looks like there's sort of a stitch between the eye and the pin. That is where you're going to do the outside corner of the eye. So it looks like between the eye and the stitches and the pin there's 1 stitch. You're going to do the identical thing on the same height with the other eye. Your inside corner, 1, 2 rounds down, there is your outside corner. So you should have these 10 pins in place. Then you're going to need a length of black yarn on your needle that you used for needle sculpting. We're going to start by entering at a random spot and exiting at point 1. Take that pin out. You want to make sure you leave a yarn tail hanging at the back for tying off later. We are then going to go in at point 2 and out at point 3. So in at point 2, out at point 3, like this. That gives you a stitch across. Now we're going to go over that brow, under that brow, and we're going to go in at the same place where we just came out, point 3. When we come out, we want to come out over here by point 4. So this way we're just creating 1 tiny stitch across the eyebrow, which is going to help to give it a bit of a curve. See, as we pull tight, it's now no longer a straight line, instead it's a bit of a curved line. We're going to repeat the process on this side by going in by point 5 and out by point 6. So in at 5, out at 6. As you can see, that's now created our straight line. So we're going over it and under it, into the same spot that we just came out of. This time we want to come out by point 9. As you can see, our eyebrows are now in place. We're now doing our eyelashes. For that, we're going to work from point 9 2.10 that we've got here. So point 10 is going to be our entry point. Point 8 over here is going to be our exit point. So we're going in at point 10 and we are coming out at point 8. Now the idea here, unfortunately the battery died as we were doing this stitch. What I was saying is we're going to be working a single stitch, and we wanted to curve around the eye from the first point to the second point. So you'll notice as we're pulling it through, we don't want it on top of the eye, across the eye. We want it to lie on top of the eye and to create a little bit of a corner there. So you see your stitch runs from there around to there. We've come out here at the top. We're going to come in at the final point over here, and when we exit we want to come out the same spot where we started. So I just want to take our yarn there so it's easy to tie off. And there we go, we've got our eyelashes on both sides, we've got our eyebrows on both sides, and it just gives a little bit of personality to our face. We are then going to knot the two ends together again to make sure that this little bit of embroidery doesn't come loose later on. Cut it off short. And then we want to hide the knot inside the head one more time. And this is what you should have at the moment. Next we're going to embroider the nose onto the muzzle. To do that we need to mark all 4 spots. So we've got our first spot on the inside corner of the right eye, second spot on the inside corner of the left eye, and you want to check that these 2 pins are even when it comes to the eyes. We then want to do a third spot here. You want the third spot to be centered between those 2 pins, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3 rounds lower. Your final spot goes in between spot 1 and spot 4 that you had when you were doing your needle sculpting. So that's over there. So you've got 3 spots on the nose and 1 there. Now I used some light pink yarn to embroider my muzzle with. You can do black yarn if you like, but I think the pink yarn just gives it a little bit something extra. So you start off by creating your pink triangle. I go in at the bottom and out on the left hand side. Take those 2 pins. Actually, no. Now to actually stitch the muzzle, we need to create a triangle between these 3 points. So I pick a random spot to enter, and I come out at this bottom tip where the nose is going to be. And then take that out. Remember to leave a yarn tail sticking out. You'll notice that my yarn is a little bit longer than usual because embroidering the muzzle takes a bit more yarn than the rest. We then go in at this spot and out by the other needle. Take those out, pull through. That gives us our first side of the triangle. We're going in at the bottom, out at the left hand side, gives us the second side of our triangle, and then just making one large stitch across. To create the top of our triangle. As you can see, we've now got a triangle of pink yarn, and we're now going to start coloring this in with the pink yarn by making big stitches from the top line back to the center. Top line, center, top line, center, all the way. Always coming back to the center when we do it. So you'll see, like that's just a big stitch. You want to pull this tight enough for the yarn to lie flat on the muzzle, but not so tight that you change the actual shape of the muzzle. So tight, but not too tight. As you can see, with each stitch, we're creating a little bit more pink coloring, so to say. And we're just going to keep doing this until we have covered all of the white and none of it is showing through anymore. You can see as we go along, there's more and more pink yarn, less and less white showing through. And we just want to keep at this all the way until our muzzle is completely pink, or at least until this triangle on our muzzle is completely pink. A little more white on this side. Now, when you're done with the colouring in, you want to make sure that you come out at one of the corners. Doesn't matter if it's the one on the left or the one on the right, it's going to be the same effect. There we go. Now, as you can see, I've coloured in all of the white areas. Now we only have the pink of the nose left, but this top line here has now become untidy due to our stitching. So what I do is I do a large stitch across it, like that, from side to side, just to straighten it back out again. So that we can have a nice even result. I like to make 2 of them just to make sure that everything is neatly covered in. And there we go, that gives us a nice pink nose for Carter the cat. The next thing we want to do is we want to split our muzzle in half. So what we're going to do is we're going to enter at this triangle tip, as we always do, and we're then going to exit at the bottom point that we marked here earlier. So it's in the middle between point 1 and point 4 that you used for your needle sculpting. You want to come out there like this. Now we're going to make a big stitch that goes that way. So we're going in at the tip again, and we're coming out at the same point that we just came out at. Can be a little bit tight at this point. And you can see our stitch is now in the middle, and we're now going to pull tight because we want to actually create a more rounded effect with our muzzle. And you'll see as we pull tight that becomes a bit rounder and that becomes a bit rounder. I find once is not enough to hold it the way I want, so I always repeat the stitch a second time. Just exactly the same stitch between exactly the same points. There we go. You can see it's getting very tight in there, which is why pliers are so handy to have. Go, pull it tight, and now we've got a nice kitty muzzle. So all we have to do is finish off. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to come out where we originally started in the same hole, so that I can just tie my work off and hide inside the head one more time. Snip it off short, and we push our knot into the head. Here we go. This is what Carter the cat should look like at the moment. You can see we're starting to get the idea of a cat rather than a weird little alien.